The starship Aurora moved through space with a calm blue glow as it neared the alien world called Neri. Inside the ship stood a young human named Riku. He was tall, lean, and carried a calm expression on his face. His black hair was tied back and his dark eyes watched the view outside with quiet focus. In his hands he held a long wooden case. Inside it rested the samurai sword that had been in his family for many generations. It was not a weapon for battle. It was a symbol of discipline, respect, and the teachings he had learned since childhood. Riku had joined a cultural exchange program that connected Earth with many peaceful alien worlds. Each member of the team brought something from their home culture. Some brought music instruments. Some brought art. Some brought scientific models. Riku brought the sword. When he first showed it to the leaders of the program, they encouraged him to share the traditions linked to it. They told him that many alien cultures loved old knowledge and calm practices. Riku felt honored. He wanted to show that humans were more than technology and machines. Humans had heart and history too. As the ship landed on Neri, Riku stepped onto the platform with the rest of the exchange group. The air of the planet felt warm and clean. The sky carried soft green clouds that moved slowly across the horizon. The buildings around them were shaped like long white petals rising into the sky. Everything had a peaceful glow, like a garden that had been growing for hundreds of years. Riku looked around with admiration. It felt like a place made for learning and calm thoughts. Soon a group of alien women approached them. They were tall, elegant, and moved with graceful steps. Their skin shimmered in pale shades of blue and silver. Their long hair flowed like soft threads of light. They wore simple robes that shifted gently as they walked. These were the women of Neri, known in the galaxy for their knowledge and advanced science. Their faces were kind and welcoming. Their eyes carried a quiet wisdom. Riku felt no fear. Only respect. The leader of the alien group stepped forward. Her name was Elira. She looked slightly older than the others. Her face held a strong but gentle calm. She welcomed the humans and thanked them for traveling such a long distance. She spoke with a clear voice that sounded like soft wind. Riku bowed politely in return. Elira noticed the wooden case in his hands but said nothing at first. The exchange group was guided to a resting area filled with soft trees and flowing water. Riku placed his case beside him as he listened to Elira explain the rules of their stay. The humans were free to explore the city, study alien culture, and present their own traditions. Every visitor had the chance to share something unique. Riku felt ready. When the introductions ended, one of the alien women pointed to Riku's wooden case. Her tone was polite but curious. She asked if he wished to share what was inside. Riku nodded with a calm smile. He opened the case slowly and revealed the samurai sword resting inside. Its blade was polished and simple. Its hilt was wrapped in dark cloth. It was elegant without being flashy. It carried quiet beauty. The aliens gathered around and stared at the object. Then, to Riku's surprise, a few of them began to laugh. Their laughter was not cruel or rude. It sounded more like gentle surprise. They explained that they were not used to old metal tools from ancient times. To them it looked like a decoration or something from a museum. They lived in a world of advanced machines and powerful light devices. The idea of carrying a simple sword made them feel amused. One alien woman spoke kindly and asked why a young human would carry something so old when he lived in a galaxy filled with advanced technology. Another said that the sword seemed heavy and impractical. A third suggested it must be a ceremonial item for festivals. Their words were not meant to insult him. They simply could not understand why such a tool still held value. Riku listened without any sign of anger. His voice stayed calm when he answered. He explained that the sword was not important because of its material. It was important because of the training that came with it. He told them that humans once used blades for battle, but over time many turned the practice into art and discipline. The movements linked to the sword helped a person learn balance, focus, patience, and self-control. The sword demanded respect because it reminded people of their responsibility to stay calm and do the right thing. The alien women stopped laughing. They were not disrespectful. They simply had never heard such a viewpoint. Elira stepped closer and studied the sword with thoughtful eyes. She asked Riku if he still practiced the old movements of the samurai. Riku nodded. He practiced every morning. It helped his mind stay centered. Elira smiled gently. She thanked him for explaining. She told him that the women of Neri valued knowledge in every form. Even old traditions could hold meaning if they helped people grow. She encouraged Riku to continue practicing during his stay. She said that many of them would be interested in seeing how humans used old tools for personal growth. That evening, Riku was assigned a small room made of smooth white stone with a window overlooking a peaceful garden. He placed the wooden case near the window and sat quietly. He thought about the laughter earlier, but he felt no sadness. He understood that many cultures grew in different ways. Some followed machines. Some followed old paths. Riku believed both could be important. The next morning he woke before sunrise. The sky glowed a gentle silver. The air smelled fresh like morning rain. Riku carried his sword to a clearing near the garden. The ground was soft and smooth. He stood still and closed his eyes. He breathed slowly and let the calm morning fill his mind. Then he opened the sword case and lifted the blade with both hands. He began the first movement. His left foot slid forward. His right arm rose. The blade moved in a clean line through the air. Every step was smooth and steady. His expression stayed focused. His mind felt quiet. Each movement flowed into the next. There was no sound except the wind and the soft rustle of his clothes. Riku trained like this every day since childhood. It was part of who he was. He did not notice that he was being watched again. Several alien women stood at the edge of the clearing. They whispered to each other. Their eyes followed every movement he made. Some remembered their earlier laughter and felt a bit embarrassed. They did not understand before, but now they saw something different. They saw how focused Riku looked. They saw how his movements were controlled and full of purpose. The sword no longer looked like an old tool. It looked like a partner in discipline. Elira stood among them. She watched quietly. She was older than most and had seen many traditions from many worlds. She understood that knowledge came in many forms. She admired how Riku carried himself with calm respect. She noticed that his movements were never rushed or careless. She realized that the sword was not a symbol of violence but a symbol of balance. When Riku finished his practice and sheathed the sword, Elira walked toward him. She thanked him for sharing his morning routine. She told him that his training looked beautiful. Riku bowed politely. He explained that the sword taught him patience and clarity. He told her that the movements helped calm the mind and sharpen the senses. Elira listened with interest. She then invited him to share more of his training with the city. She believed many would learn from his discipline. Riku accepted the invitation with a grateful smile. He felt honored that the alien women began to see the meaning behind the sword. For the first time since his arrival, he felt that his tradition had a place on this peaceful world. As the sun rose higher, the garden filled with soft light. Riku walked with Elira through the pathways of Neri. He carried the sword with quiet pride. The alien women no longer looked at it with amusement. They looked at it with growing respect. They were curious. They wanted to understand. Riku knew that this was only the beginning. He could feel that something greater was waiting ahead. Something that would test his training and show both humans and aliens the true strength behind an old tradition. The planet Neri was peaceful, but peace did not mean the world was without challenges. Riku had no idea that soon a strange crisis would strike the city, a crisis that modern technology could not solve. When that moment came, the young human with the samurai sword would stand where no one else could. And the alien women who once laughed would see a truth they never expected. The morning sun rose slowly over Neri, casting gentle green and gold light across the city. The alien garden sparkled with soft dew, and the smooth white buildings reflected the calm sky. Riku woke in his room and stretched his arms. The wooden case with his samurai sword rested quietly on the floor. He felt ready to begin another day. Today, he planned to show more of his training in hope that the alien women would understand his discipline even better. Riku stepped into the garden and felt the soft ground under his feet. He opened the case and lifted the sword, breathing in the quiet morning air. The first movements flowed smoothly. His footwork was precise, his hands controlled the blade perfectly. Each strike in turn was guided by concentration. As he moved, he did not think about others watching. He only focused on balance and control, on connecting his body and mind. Soon, a group of alien women appeared at the edge of the clearing. They had heard of Riku's morning training and were curious. Some of them whispered quietly to each other. Their earlier laughter had faded, replaced by attention and fascination. They had seen a young human carry a simple sword with such focus and respect. It was unlike anything they had experienced. They did not fully understand yet, but they could sense its importance. One alien woman named Elora stepped closer. She was smaller than most of the others, but her eyes were sharp and intelligent. She tilted her head as she observed Riku's every movement. Her hands rested calmly at her sides. Elora had always been skeptical of ancient traditions. She believed that science and machines were the future and that old ways could not compete. But watching Riku, she felt an unusual feeling. She felt respect growing quietly inside her. Elira, the leader, stood among the women, her hands folded in front of her. She noticed Riku's calm expression and smooth movements. She had seen many visitors and scholars from distant planets, but few had the level of focus this young human carried. She thought about the explanations he had given the day before. The sword was more than metal and cloth. It was a tool of discipline, a teacher in itself. Riku moved through a series of precise steps. He practiced defensive stances, forward strikes, and controlled spins. Every motion carried meaning. He imagined an invisible opponent in front of him and responded to attacks with clarity and speed. He was not fighting for battle or glory. He was training his mind to be still and his body to respond correctly. The alien women watched silently. Their fascination grew. After nearly an hour, Riku stopped and sheathed the sword. The soft click of the blade echoed through the clearing. The alien women stepped closer, their expressions serious and thoughtful. Elora was the first to speak. She asked him how he learned to move with such control. Riku smiled gently and explained that he began training when he was a small child. His father and grandfather taught him the movements. They told him that a sword is not dangerous because of its sharpness but because of the focus it inspires. Elira nodded and spoke in her calm voice. She told the women that there is wisdom in every culture, even those that appear old. A tool can teach lessons that technology cannot. She encouraged them to observe more carefully, to learn and understand. Some of the alien women hesitated at first. They had always relied on advanced devices to achieve results quickly. Discipline and patience had never been part of their daily life. Watching Riku, they felt a quiet challenge inside them, a question about what they might be missing. Riku spent the next several days sharing his training. Each morning, he practiced alone in the garden, and each morning the alien women returned to watch. They began to study his movements closely. They asked questions about why he lifted his foot in a certain way, why he held the blade at a particular angle, and why he paused before a strike. Riku answered with care, explaining that each movement was a step toward awareness and control. One day, Elora attempted to imitate the movements herself. She picked up a training sword, a lightweight version for practice, and copied Riku's stance. At first, her steps were clumsy. Her arms felt awkward, and she could not flow from one movement to the next. Riku watched silently, his expression calm and encouraging. He reminded her to breathe and focus, to let her body move naturally. After several attempts, Elora found a rhythm. She moved more smoothly and began to understand the connection between mind and body. Elira watched this closely. She realized that even advanced knowledge had limits when the mind and body were not prepared. Technology could solve problems, but only careful thinking and discipline could guide a person to make wise choices in unexpected situations. She began to respect Riku's training even more. She invited other women to practice as well. Soon, a small group joined in, eager to learn the human discipline that had once seemed strange. During one practice session, Riku spoke about the meaning behind the sword. He told them that the blade represented responsibility. A person must control themselves first before they can control a tool or a weapon. The sword was a teacher of patience and calm. He explained that every human action carries consequences, and understanding those consequences comes from careful thought and focus. The alien women listened with full attention. They felt the truth in his words. The city of Neri began to change quietly. Citizens who observed the morning training noticed a sense of calm energy spreading from the garden. Some scientists who had dismissed the sword began to ask questions. They watched Riku and saw the way he remained steady and focused even under long practice. They wondered if such discipline could help them in their work with machines and energy fields. One afternoon, a group of alien engineers visited Riku. They asked him if his training could be applied to tasks that required precision and careful timing. Riku nodded and explained that the same lessons applied to any skill. Focus, patience, and control could improve understanding and reduce mistakes. The engineers were intrigued and began to observe the training more closely. They realized that combining human discipline with their advanced technology might create new methods for problem solving. Riku noticed that the alien women no longer laughed at the sword. Their curiosity had turned into respect. They asked him about the history of the samurai and the values humans attach to training. He shared stories of courage, honor, and responsibility. He emphasized that the sword itself was a symbol, not just a tool. The stories fascinated the women. They saw how culture and tradition could carry wisdom across generations, even in a world filled with advanced machines and knowledge. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the green clouds, Elira spoke privately with Riku. She told him that the women of Neri were beginning to understand the depth of his tradition. She said that the sword had become a symbol of harmony between strength and calm, between action and thought. She asked Riku to continue teaching, not just for the visitors but for the future generations of her people. Riku agreed, feeling honored. He realized that his role on Neri was more than showing a sword. It was about building bridges between worlds, showing that human skills and values could complement alien intelligence and technology. He felt a quiet pride and a strong sense of responsibility. Each movement in the garden, each lesson shared, carried the potential to create understanding and respect. Riku continued his morning routines, and the alien women joined him more often. They moved carefully, copying the steps he demonstrated. Some stumbled, others succeeded, but all were learning the value of patience and control. Riku remained calm, guiding them with encouragement. The bond between humans and aliens grew quietly in the peaceful mornings. The story of the young human and the samurai sword spread through the city. Citizens who had once doubted its value now watched with curiosity and admiration. They began to speak of the lessons that discipline and tradition could offer. The alien women no longer laughed. They had learned that strength came not only from machines but from skill, patience, and respect for knowledge passed down through generations. Riku understood that this was only the beginning. He felt that the lessons of calm and focus would soon be tested. Neri was peaceful, but challenges always came in unexpected ways. The young human knew that his training and the respect he had earned would be important. He did not yet know what form the challenge would take, but he was ready. The sword he carried was more than metal. It was a path toward understanding, and he intended to show the aliens that true strength was measured by the mind as much as by the body. The sun set over the city, casting a golden glow across the gardens. Riku sheathed his sword and walked among the alien women who practiced beside him. Their faces carried determination and curiosity. They asked questions and listened to his answers. A new respect had grown between them. The young human had turned laughter into interest, and interest into admiration. Riku smiled quietly. He knew that the lessons he taught were already taking root. That night, as Riku lay in his room, he thought about the days to come. He felt calm and ready for what awaited. The alien women had begun to see the wisdom in human tradition. Their curiosity had turned into understanding. And the young human with the samurai sword had discovered that teaching discipline and patience was as powerful as any weapon in the galaxy. The morning on Neri began quietly, as soft green clouds drifted across the sky. The alien city sparkled under the gentle sunlight. Citizens went about their work with calm and focus. The gardens, smooth buildings, and flowing streams made the city feel peaceful. Riku rose early, carrying his samurai sword to the training garden. The alien women joined him again, moving carefully as they practiced the steps he taught. The air was calm, and Riku's mind felt centered. Suddenly, an unusual vibration shook the city. It started as a small tremor and then grew stronger. Riku stopped mid-step, sensing something was wrong. He looked around, noticing the alien women pausing and glancing toward the city. In the distance, a loud clanging echoed. Sparks flew from a section of the city's mining area. Alira and several engineers rushed forward. Riku followed them with the sword still in his hands. When they arrived at the mining district, chaos greeted them. A large mining drone, a machine designed to extract rare minerals from deep caverns, had malfunctioned. Its metal limbs moved uncontrollably, breaking structures as it advanced. Sparks shot from its joints, and smoke rose from overheated circuits. Alira's voice carried over the noise, commanding nearby citizens to move to safety. The drone's energy shield made it impossible for the engineers to stop it with their usual devices. Energy beams and magnetic clamps had no effect. The alien women who had laughed at the sword earlier watched from a safe distance. Their expressions were tense. They had never seen technology fail in this way. Machines were their strength. They had believed every problem could be solved with precise calculations and advanced tools. But this drone had become unpredictable. It resisted every attempt to control it. Panic began to rise among the workers. Riku assessed the situation calmly. He noticed the patterns in the drone's movements. Its arms struck the ground in repeated sequences. Its joints were overworked and unprotected. Sparks and smoke indicated overheating metal. Riku realized that no energy or mechanical method could stop it safely. He spoke quietly to Alira, suggesting a different approach. He explained that the drone had weak points in its joints that could be accessed with precise timing and careful handling. Alira looked at him with concern. The idea sounded dangerous. A human approaching a massive, out-of-control machine with only a sword seemed reckless. But she noticed Riku's calm expression. He showed no fear or hesitation. His focus was clear. Alira decided to trust him. She instructed the other citizens and engineers to hold back while Riku approached the drone. A small path was cleared, allowing him to move closer without obstruction. Riku stepped forward slowly. Each step was measured and deliberate. He felt the weight of the sword in his hands, steady and balanced. The drone's metal limbs clanged as it moved, but Riku did not rush. He observed the rhythm of its movements, predicting when each arm would strike. His training taught him to read motion and act with precision. The alien women watched in silence, their earlier laughter forgotten. He came close enough to see the joints that connected the drone's arms to its main body. Sparks flew from a particular hinge that seemed less stable than the others. Riku raised his sword and waited for the exact moment to act. When the drone lifted one of its heavy arms to strike, he moved with speed and accuracy. He struck the joint at the weakest point. The blade made contact with a precise angle, and the metal bent slightly, loosening the limb's movement. The drone staggered but continued to move. Riku adjusted his position and attacked another weak joint. Each strike was deliberate. His mind stayed calm. He observed the drone's reactions and predicted its next movement. The alien women and engineers watched in awe. No machine, no weapon, could have achieved this. Only careful focus and precise timing could stop the massive metal beast. After several careful strikes, the drone's limbs slowed. Its movements became less violent. Sparks and smoke reduced as the weakened joints restricted its actions. Riku continued his approach, always careful to avoid the main strikes and moving limbs. He focused entirely on the machine's patterns, trusting his training and instincts. The alien women whispered to each other. They realized that the human with the samurai sword was showing something they had never expected. Finally, Riku struck the final critical joint. The drone shuddered, then powered down. Its metal arms collapsed gently to the ground. Silence fell over the city. Citizens and engineers emerged from hiding, their expressions full of relief and astonishment. Elira stepped forward quickly, her face showing admiration. She praised Riku for his skill and courage. She explained to the crowd that this was not a matter of luck but of focus, discipline, and precision. The alien women who had once laughed now approached Riku with respect. Elira stepped forward, bowing slightly. She said that she had underestimated human skill and understanding. She admitted that she had thought a sword was useless in a world of advanced machines. Now she saw that human discipline could achieve what technology alone could not. Elira agreed, telling the women that strength came in many forms. Knowledge, patience, and precise action could be as powerful as energy beams or machines. Riku remained calm as he sheathed the sword. He did not seek praise. His satisfaction came from knowing that the city was safe and that the lesson had been understood. The citizens began to discuss what they had witnessed. They spoke about the importance of observation, patience, and focus. Engineers who relied solely on calculations realized that intuition and skill could complement technology. The alien women began to ask questions about the sword and the principles behind its use. Elira invited Riku to a council meeting. She wanted the leaders and teachers of the city to learn from his approach. Riku explained that the sword was a tool for the mind as well as the body. Every strike required understanding, timing, and awareness. The principles behind the movements could be applied to many situations, not just combat. The council listened carefully. They began to see that tradition and discipline could provide solutions in ways modern technology sometimes could not. Elira and several other women asked Riku to teach them directly. They wanted to understand the reasoning behind each movement and how it could be applied in their daily lives. Riku agreed. He started small, showing them how calm observation and controlled action could solve small problems before attempting larger challenges. The women practiced carefully, learning to focus and move with purpose. Each day, they grew more confident, applying the lessons to both training and their work with technology. The city of Neri slowly changed after the incident. Citizens learned to value balance between knowledge and skill, between tools and discipline. The story of the young human with the samurai sword spread through the community. Many came to the training garden to observe and learn. Riku's approach created a quiet excitement, a new curiosity about human culture and methods. The alien women began to share their own experiences, blending their knowledge with the lessons from the sword. Riku understood that this moment marked a turning point. The laughter he had faced on his first day had transformed into respect. His training and discipline had shown the alien women that even a simple tool could hold immense power when combined with focus, patience, and understanding. The young human realized that his role on Neri was no longer just cultural exchange. He had become a teacher, a bridge between two ways of thinking, and a symbol of human resilience. As night fell over the city, the sky painted in soft green and gold, Riku stood in the training garden. His sword rested gently in his hands. The alien women and citizens practiced around him, moving carefully with focus and intent. The incident with the drone had passed, but its lessons remained. Humans and aliens alike had learned that strength came not only from power or machines but from careful thought, discipline, and skill. Riku felt a quiet satisfaction. He knew challenges would come again. Neri was a peaceful world, but peace did not guarantee safety from unexpected dangers. He also knew that he had earned the trust and respect of the alien women. Their laughter at the sword was gone. In its place was curiosity, understanding, and admiration. The young human had shown them a new way to approach life, to value discipline and awareness alongside technology and intelligence. The garden was quiet now, with only soft footsteps and whispered questions. Riku sheathed the sword and walked along the pathways, observing the alien women practicing. They moved more confidently now, learning to apply focus in both training and their daily work. The lessons from the morning's challenge had transformed them. They were no longer skeptical of the sword. They had learned that even simple tools could carry wisdom and power when guided by skillful hands. Riku paused near the edge of the garden, looking toward the horizon. The city lights began to glow softly as the sun disappeared behind the green clouds. He felt ready for what lay ahead. He understood that discipline, patience, and focus could change more than machines. They could change minds, culture, and even the balance between worlds. The young human knew that his journey on Neri was far from over. New lessons and challenges would come. And when they did, he would be ready. The morning after the drone incident began with a soft, golden glow over the city of Neri. Birds with delicate silver feathers sang quietly from the treetops, and the streams in the garden shimmered under the sunlight. Citizens moved calmly through the city, their conversations reflecting curiosity and respect for the young human who had saved the mining district. Riku rose early, as he always did. His samurai sword rested carefully in its case. Today was not only for his practice but also for teaching the alien women the deeper lessons of discipline and focus. Riku walked to the training garden. The alien women were already waiting, their robes brushing the soft ground. They had practiced each morning since the incident, and their movements had grown steadier. Elora, the one who had been skeptical from the beginning, now moved with careful attention, her eyes focused on Riku's every motion. Elira observed silently from the edge, her face calm but attentive. She understood that the day's lessons would shape not only the women but perhaps the entire city's understanding of discipline. Riku lifted the sword from its case and began the first movements. The blade sliced through the morning air with smooth, precise arcs. Each step was deliberate, each turn controlled. The alien women mirrored his movements as best as they could. Some stumbled, but Riku moved among them calmly, offering corrections with quiet encouragement. He reminded them that the sword was not a weapon in this moment. It was a teacher, a guide to understanding the mind as much as the body. As the training progressed, Riku spoke to the women about the importance of observation. He explained that in every motion, there was a lesson about awareness. He told them that a sword did not act on its own. Its effectiveness depended on the person holding it. He demonstrated by moving slowly and carefully, showing how even small adjustments could change the outcome of a strike. The women watched intently, their expressions growing serious as they realized the depth behind the movements. Elora tried to imitate a sequence of strikes. Her movements were uneven at first. She lifted the sword too high, then too low. Riku stepped beside her and adjusted her grip gently. He reminded her to breathe, to let her mind guide her hands. Slowly, her movements became smoother. She began to understand the connection between calm focus and precise action. The other women followed suit, each learning that practice and patience could overcome even initial difficulty. After the morning session, Riku gathered the group in a circle. He spoke about the lesson they had all just practiced. Discipline is not only about strength, he said. It is about understanding. It is about seeing what others may miss and acting with care. A tool, a weapon, or even a machine will only follow the skill of its user. That is why we practice. That is why we learn control. Elira listened closely. She had witnessed many forms of knowledge in her life, but this was different. Riku's words carried clarity and simplicity. They spoke to something fundamental about action, thought, and responsibility. She understood why he had been able to stop the malfunctioning drone. It was not brute force that saved the city, but careful observation, focus, and precise action guided by discipline. The women began to ask questions. One asked how the sword could teach lessons that machines could not. Riku explained that a sword responds instantly to every movement. It cannot be forced or programmed. The person holding it must understand balance, timing, and focus. In this way, it teaches patience, awareness, and calm judgment. Machines can assist, but they cannot replace the lessons learned through careful practice. Riku then guided the women through a more advanced set of movements. He called it the flow of awareness. It involved reading the motion of an imagined opponent, adjusting the body to respond with control, and making decisions quickly but thoughtfully. The women moved through the sequences, their faces serious with concentration. Some stumbled, but Riku encouraged them to continue. He reminded them that mistakes were part of learning. Every error taught a lesson about focus and adjustment. As the day progressed, the training shifted from physical movements to practical applications. Riku explained how the same principles applied to real-life situations. Observation, patience, and precise action could solve problems that seemed impossible. The women practiced applying these lessons to small mechanical tasks and other controlled experiments. They learned to watch carefully, predict outcomes, and act decisively. Slowly, they began to appreciate the subtle power of human discipline. Elira noticed a change in her people. Their laughter at the sword was gone. Curiosity had transformed into respect. They were beginning to see the value of blending human methods with their advanced knowledge. Elira, in particular, moved with a new confidence. She realized that strength was not always about advanced technology. Sometimes, it came from understanding and patience. Riku spoke about balance. A sword teaches balance not only in the body but in the mind. Too much force can harm. Too little focus can fail. The right movement at the right moment brings success. He demonstrated again, moving slowly and precisely. The women followed, their movements becoming more fluid. The city seemed to hold its breath as they practiced, learning lessons that went beyond physical skill. After hours of training, Riku rested under a tree. The alien women gathered around him, sitting quietly and listening. They asked him about his family and the generations of humans who had taught these lessons. Riku shared stories of courage, responsibility, and respect. He explained that each generation learned not just to use the sword but to understand the world through discipline. The women were fascinated. They saw that wisdom could travel across time and space, carrying lessons that technology alone could never provide. In the late afternoon, a council of engineers approached. They had observed the morning's training and wanted to learn how to apply these principles to their work. Riku welcomed them and explained that observation, patience, and careful adjustment could improve not only sword skills but also the operation of machines and tools. The engineers were intrigued. They began to practice small tasks with new attention to focus and precision. The blending of human discipline with alien technology created surprising results. Elira watched this carefully. She realized that Riku's teachings had already begun to change her city. Citizens were more attentive, more aware of their actions, and more willing to combine careful thought with advanced knowledge. She understood that the lessons of the sword were not just about defense or combat. They were about wisdom, patience, and the proper use of power. As evening approached, Riku led the alien women through a final demonstration. He performed a sequence of movements with the sword, faster and more precise than before. The blade moved in perfect harmony with his body. The women mirrored him as best as they could. Their movements were not perfect, but they showed understanding. They had learned the importance of focus, timing, and patience. Alira and Elora both smiled, proud of the progress made. Riku then spoke softly. Today you have learned more than movements. You have learned how to see clearly, how to act carefully, and how to respect both tools and knowledge. This is the lesson of the sword. It is a lesson for life. Remember that strength comes not only from power but from understanding and discipline. The women nodded. They understood the depth of his words. The city around them remained calm, but the atmosphere had changed. Respect for human wisdom and tradition had grown. The lessons of the sword were now a part of the culture of Neri. Citizens began to see that discipline and focus could enhance their technology, improve their work, and bring balance to their lives. Riku felt a quiet satisfaction. He had taught not with force or fear but with patience, example, and guidance. The alien women had learned that laughter and skepticism could be transformed into respect and curiosity. The city had witnessed a demonstration of true skill, one that combined human discipline with careful observation and calm thought. As night fell over Neri, the sky filled with soft green light from the drifting clouds. The citizens returned to their homes, and the gardens grew quiet. Riku sheathed the sword and walked through the pathways, observing the alien women practicing the movements he had taught them. Their confidence had grown. Their understanding had deepened. They no longer laughed. They now saw the sword as a symbol of wisdom, focus, and discipline. Riku paused at the edge of the garden. The city below sparkled under the moonlight. He knew that more challenges would come, but he also knew that the lessons he had shared had planted seeds of understanding. The alien women and citizens of Neri were beginning to see the power of patience, focus, and careful action. They had learned that tradition could guide even in a world of advanced technology. The young human with the samurai sword had turned laughter into respect. He had shown that discipline and skill could solve problems that machines alone could not. And he knew that the next challenge would require all that he had taught, not just for himself but for the entire city. The night grew calm, and Riku looked to the horizon. Stars twinkled above, and the soft light of Neri reflected his calm determination. The lesson had been learned, but the journey was far from over. The morning sun rose over Neri, bathing the city in soft green and golden light. The air smelled fresh and clean. Birds with silver feathers sang above the gardens, and the smooth white buildings reflected the sunlight. The city felt calm, but there was a quiet excitement in the atmosphere. Word of Riku's lessons had spread through Neri, and citizens from different districts had gathered near the training garden to observe the human who had changed their perspective. Riku rose early and carried his samurai sword to the garden. The alien women, including Elora and several others who had been practicing diligently, were already waiting. Their movements had grown more precise and confident. They had practiced daily, learning to balance patience, focus, and careful action. Alira stood nearby, her face calm and proud. Today was not just another lesson. It was the day to show that understanding could bridge worlds. Riku began his morning routine. The sword moved through the air in smooth arcs, each motion controlled and deliberate. His footwork was steady, his eyes focused. The women mirrored him, their movements reflecting the discipline and skill they had learned over the past days. The crowd of citizens watched quietly, noticing how humans and aliens could share knowledge, even when their worlds were so different. After the initial practice, Riku gathered the group for a discussion. He spoke calmly and clearly. Strength comes in many forms. Machines can do tasks faster than humans, but understanding and awareness guide both action and decisions. Discipline teaches patience and focus. A sword, a tool, or a skill will serve only as well as the mind guiding it. Today we will see how lessons from the sword can help in life and work. Alira nodded in agreement. She addressed the citizens who had gathered. Today we witness more than training. We witness learning and understanding. Humans and aliens can teach each other. We can grow by combining knowledge and skill, tradition and technology. Let us watch carefully and learn together. Riku explained a new exercise. It was called the Circle of Awareness. He instructed the women to form a circle. Each participant would observe and predict the movements of others while maintaining their own balance and focus. The exercise was not about speed but about observation, control, and awareness. The women began, moving carefully. At first, some stumbled or misread the motions, but Riku guided them with patience. He reminded them to focus, breathe, and observe fully. As the exercise continued, the women began to improve. Their movements flowed smoothly, and their eyes became sharper, noticing small shifts and changes in posture. The citizens watched closely. They realized that human training could teach more than physical skill. It taught clarity of mind and the ability to respond thoughtfully to unexpected situations. Many citizens whispered to each other, noting that they could apply this lesson to their work with machines, planning, and research. After the exercise, Riku spoke about responsibility. Every action has a consequence. Awareness and focus help us act wisely. A sword is a tool, but so is knowledge. When we combine discipline and understanding, we can solve problems and guide others. Leadership requires balance. Decisions must be made with care, not haste. Elora stepped forward, her eyes bright with understanding. I see now, she said. The sword is not just a weapon. It is a teacher. It shows us that careful thought and skillful action can succeed where force alone may fail. We have learned more than movements. We have learned patience, focus, and respect. Elira smiled. And we have learned that even beings from another world can teach us wisdom. Humans carry traditions that hold lessons for all of us. Let this be a bridge, not just between people, but between cultures, knowledge, and hearts. Riku demonstrated one final set of movements. The blade flowed with precision and control, each step and turn guided by focus. The women mirrored him as best as they could, their movements fluid and confident. The citizens watched silently, amazed at how a simple sword and careful practice could teach lessons far beyond fighting. After the demonstration, Riku guided a practical application. He and the women observed small devices that controlled water flow, energy, and mechanical operations in the city. Using the principles of observation, timing, and careful adjustment, they worked together to fine-tune the devices. Sparks and misfires were avoided, and the machines performed more efficiently. The citizens realized that the lessons of discipline could enhance technology, not replace it. Humans and aliens together could achieve more than either alone. Elira addressed the crowd once more. We have witnessed how tradition, discipline, and careful observation can complement knowledge and technology. Let this lesson guide us in the future. We have learned to respect and understand, to combine skill and thought, and to see value in what we may not yet fully understand. The citizens cheered softly, not in loud celebration but in quiet appreciation. They had learned a new way to approach life, blending patience, skill, and focus with their knowledge and intelligence. The alien women, once skeptical and amused, now moved confidently with awareness. They had learned to value not only power and speed but clarity, observation, and responsibility. Riku took a moment to address the women directly. You have done well, he said. You have practiced, observed, and learned. Remember that true skill comes from understanding, not from imitation alone. Keep your focus, remain aware, and you will continue to grow. The lessons of the sword apply to all challenges, not just training. Use them in your work, in your decisions, and in your actions. Elora bowed respectfully. We will remember, she said. We will carry these lessons into our lives and our work. You have shown us a new way to see the world. We thank you for your guidance and patience. Elira joined her, placing a gentle hand on Elora's shoulder. And we thank you, Riku. You have shown us that strength is not only in power or machines, but in understanding, focus, and discipline. Let this be a new chapter for Neri, a bridge between our world and yours. Riku smiled quietly. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The laughter he had faced when he first arrived had been replaced by respect and understanding. The alien women and citizens had learned lessons that technology alone could not teach. And he knew that this was only the beginning. The seeds of understanding had been planted, and they would grow into a culture that valued skill, patience, and wisdom alongside knowledge and machines. As the day drew to a close, the sun dipped behind the green clouds. The city glowed softly in the fading light. Riku sheathed his sword and walked among the citizens and women, observing their movements, listening to their questions, and offering guidance where needed. The training garden was alive with learning, understanding, and mutual respect. Alira approached Riku once more. "You have done more than teach a sword," she said. "You have built a bridge of understanding. Your discipline has shown us that humans carry wisdom we can learn from. And we will share this with the generations to come." Riku bowed slightly. "It is not only my lesson," he said. "It is a lesson for all of us. We learn from each other. Strength, skill, and understanding grow when we teach and share. This is the path to harmony, not only between people but between worlds." The alien women gathered around him, smiling and moving with newfound confidence. They had learned more than movements. They had learned patience, observation, focus, and the value of discipline. They had seen that a simple tool could teach lessons far beyond its material form. The sword had become a symbol, not of battle, but of understanding, guidance, and respect. As night fell over Neri, the city lights glimmered softly. Citizens returned to their homes, their minds alive with new understanding. Riku walked to the edge of the garden and looked toward the horizon. Stars twinkled above, reflecting the calm glow of the city below. He felt a quiet pride and satisfaction. The laughter of the first day was gone, replaced by admiration, curiosity, and respect. The young human with the samurai sword had done more than teach movements. He had built a bridge between worlds, showing that discipline, focus, and understanding could complement knowledge and technology. Humans and aliens alike had learned that wisdom could travel across cultures, and that patience and careful observation could solve challenges that machines alone could not. Riku sheathed his sword finally and took a deep breath. The city was quiet, the gardens peaceful, and the alien women moved confidently with skill and calm. The lessons of the sword had become a lasting part of Neri, a reminder that understanding, patience, and discipline were as powerful as any machine or technology. He knew that challenges would come again. Peace was never permanent, and knowledge alone could not solve every problem. But he also knew that the bridge he had built, between humans and aliens, between tradition and technology, between focus and knowledge, would endure. And in that bridge, the laughter of the first day had become respect, the sword had become a teacher, and understanding had become a path to harmony. The city of Neri slept quietly under the green and golden sky. The lessons of the human with the samurai sword had taken root. And the future promised more growth, more understanding, and more shared wisdom between worlds.